Fugitive from justice and illegal immigrant, Elon Musk is working at breakneck speed to dismantle the government and replace it with a fascist oligarch kleptocracy. And his puppet, Diaper Donnie, helps out with distraction after distraction. And so just when we need the media the most to come in and act as the fourth estate to help Democrats in Congress push back against this rising tide, they do just the opposite. CNN took it a step further by exiling Jim Acosta to Siberia in order to appease Trump, who didn't like how Acosta was mean to him. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow, however, not only knows the purpose of the media in maintaining democracy, it can also be used as a platform to push back.
In Donald Trump's quest to erase anti-discrimination protections in the United States, to erase in particular all parts of governing that include advocacy for diversity or even reference to diversity, equity, and inclusion, the Trump White House is now having its own Tyson homosexual moment. Here's the headline at The Guardian, quote, Trump's demands to drop DEI leads to deletion of unrelated federal pages. And by unrelated federal pages, oh boy, is the word unrelated doing a lot of work. This is the Internal Revenue Manual. It does not promote diversity, equity, or inclusion. It rather serves the very important task of telling IRS employees how to collect taxes, which is their job. Before the Trump administration started willy-nilly Control-F deleting anything that had any, quote, DEI reference, there used to be parts of this tax manual that made reference to, say, the inequity of the government holding on to certain taxpayer money. Also, the need to check for the inclusion of a taxpayer identification number on a particular form. But now that Trump's in there, that's not in the tax manual anymore. They deleted those references because, oh my God, inclusion. I mean, don't say the White House, the Trump White House never did anything for you. They're saving us all from the dangerous references to the inclusion of tax ID numbers with certain forms. It was under the same anti-DEI guise that the White House removed thousands of government websites over the last few days, taking down information about everything from vaccines to substance abuse to veterans' health care to census data, because, you know, there's somehow DEI in the census data. And as dumb as that is when it comes to scrubbing magic words from government documents, it's dumb and cruel and perhaps irrevocably damaging when the same logic is being used as their means of targeting people. The Washington Post headline summed it up. I think this Washington Post headline summed up what is actually going on here pretty effectively. Quote, Trump's DEI purge targets federal workers who do not work in DEI. I think it's pretty obvious now to everybody that they are using DEI as a just a pretext. They're giving everything that, you know, unfashionable boogeyman label to try to avoid people in general realizing that what they're really doing is just wrecking the U.S. government, just knocking it down. That's the point of all of this, whatever label they're putting on it. But of course, none of the things they're trying to do will inevitably come to pass. They're not omnipotent. And they keep screwing up. And they keep caving when people push back. So, for example, in the wake of thousands of CDC websites being taken down days ago, purportedly because of DEI concerns about those websites, quote, by Monday, some of the pages that had been deleted on the CDC's website had reappeared. In response to intense media coverage, backlash from the scientific community, and concern for the public's health. When you push back on them, they cave. They want to do things that are easy for them to do. Anything that seems hard for them to do, they stop doing. So pressure works. But you know what? Stupidity works too. When they behave in particularly ostentatiously stupid ways, when they behave in ways that are obviously and ostentatiously dumb, it has two effects. It undercuts the air of intimidation and omnipotence that they've tried to use to get their way. I mean, it doesn't mean that they don't have the worst and most malicious intentions. They clearly do. But it gives lie to the fact that they're just not that good at any of the things they're trying to do. I mean, it may be, for example, that there is a real white power vibe behind all the anti-DEI stuff they are doing. But if the way they're approaching it is to say, in part, that there can no longer be the inclusion of a self-addressed stamped envelope in any government mailing, or that you're banned from talking about the equity markets because, ooh, equity, well, that level of stupidity has the benefit of making us less intimidated by them because they're being dumb. It also has the benefit of emboldening people to push back. Headline today at the Wall Street Journal, quote, Trump's gender order sparks revolt inside agency tasked with protecting workers. Quote, since President Trump fired the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission leadership last week, the agency's new acting chair has instructed staff to change the agency's procedures and materials to reflect only two sexes. Multiple EEOC attorneys and other staff have warned acting chair Andrea Lucas that they cannot comply with Trump's executive order without breaking federal law. The EEOC enforces Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits sex discrimination in the workplace. A 2020 U.S. Supreme Court decision says the definition of sex discrimination includes sexual orientation and gender identity. So here's a clear case in which a stupidity problem has arisen here, right? This is an agency that is charged under statute with enforcing a particular federal law. The Trump administration is telling them, well, Trump is now demanding that you break that law. What are the people who work there supposed to do? You guessed it. Quote, some agency employees are openly revolting. Quote, an EEOC administrative judge emailed acting director Lucas on Monday, copying in most EEOC staff. The email said, quote, the tactics you are employing and the actions you have taken in lockstep with this new administration are illegal and unconstitutional. In a reference to Trump's billionaire advisor, Elon Musk, the judge wrote to Lucas, quote, if upon reflection you feel like now would be a good time to take a vacation and resign from your position, please reply all to this email and put, I'd like to occupy Mars in the subject line. In other words, no, we're not doing these illegal things you are telling us to do.
This is why Maddow is one of America's greatest journalists. She does more than report. She actually does even more than confront. She reveals how and where power is weak. She tells her audience why it's important to push back and how effective it can be. And sure, it's only a matter of time before the Trump administration tries to quash NBC and or get Maddow off the network. But it's an empty threat. Because if Maddow goes off on her own, she'll do just fine. She'll get just as big an audience as she has on MSNBC. And yeah, I know, podcasting hasn't worked out for Megyn Kelly, but that's only because she's a bubble-headed mean girl trying to make it in a man's misogynistic world. Maddow, on the other hand, survived Air America. She'll continue pushing back and fighting onward. So there's not much President Muskmelon and Diaper Donnie can really do. So in the meantime, push back. I mean, I know somewhere, somehow, there's got to be an alum of the Seven Sisters working for some state attorney general somewhere. You guys need to get together and figure out how you can arrest Elon Musk on state charges. That'll take care of him. And in the meantime, don't forget to make fun of them, because indeed, they are stupid. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.